Chapter 1: Dust and Desperation. The wind carried sand through the dry, forgotten streets of Bitter Creek, a frontier town clinging to life like the people in it. The saloon doors banged aimlessly, unattended. The sheriff had skipped town weeks ago, and outlaws made the rules now. It wasn't a place for dreams, just survival. Eleanor Wade knew that too well. She stepped off the stagecoach with a threadbare shawl wrapped around her shoulders and a small satchel clutched in both hands. Her face was pale beneath the grit, her lower lip split from a recent scuffle back in Dry Fork. Her green eyes, once curious and bright, were now dull with exhaustion. She was running from a man who promised to wed her and instead left bruises and broken things behind. She had nowhere to go, no money, no family. Her mother had died in childbirth. Her father was shot over a poker debt. Since then, she'd worked kitchens, scrubbed floors, and escaped the clutches of men who thought kindness was something they could buy. "Miss," the coach driver tipped his hat awkwardly, "town ain't safe no more. You sure you got someone waitin'?" Eleanor's silence was answer enough. She watched as the coach rolled away in a cloud of dust. She was alone. Across the street, a sign swayed in the wind. Livery stable. Horses bought and sold. Beyond that, a group of men loitered near the saloon, all eyes and sneers. Eleanor turned away quickly and walked toward the mercantile, ignoring the stares burning into her spine. But it was at the Smith Ranch posting board, a weathered slab of wood hammered to a pole outside the general store, where her gaze snagged. "Help wanted, cook and housekeeper, remote ranch, room and board, ask for Malachi Smith, no questions." She read it twice, then again. "No questions," she whispered. It sounded like mercy. Chapter 2: The Scarred Rancher. Malachi Smith didn't like visitors. Didn't like towns, people, or conversation longer than 5 words. He preferred his horses, the crackling of firewood, and the silence of wide, open land. After the war ended, he came home to a ranch burned and a face half ruined by a bullet that should have killed him. He built the place back up with his own hands, a crooked barn, 24 head of cattle, a little white house with a lopsided porch. His right eye was cloudy now, a scar slicing down from brow to jaw, but he still rode like the wind and shot straight. That morning, he was fixing the corral fence when he saw the rider coming. A woman, hunched, riding awkwardly on an old borrowed mule. She looked out of place, too fine-featured for Bitter Creek, but too worn for the life she'd lived. Malachi narrowed his one good eye. He wasn't one for charity. She dismounted clumsily, boots hitting the dirt. "You, Smith?" she asked, her voice like wind through dry leaves. "I am," he replied, voice low and gravel-tick. "I'm here about the posting. I can cook, clean, work." She paused. "I got nowhere else." He didn't ask where she came from. Didn't ask what bruises she hid under that shawl. He just nodded. "It'll last a week. I'll pay you. Room's out back. I keep to myself. So should you." And that was how Eleanor Wade found her shelter, with a rancher so broken he made no room for questions and no demands for answers. Chapter 3: Firelight and Fences. Days bled into weeks. Eleanor scrubbed the floorboards, fixed a leaky roof tile, learned how to feed the chickens and make strong coffee over a fire. Malachi didn't speak much, but he always ate what she cooked. He didn't stare, didn't touch, just nodded once when the stew was hot and the cornbread wasn't burned. He limped from an old war injury and never took off his glove from his left hand, burned and gnarled from fire. Eleanor found peace in the silence. Sometimes, late at night, she'd watch him from the porch. He would sit by the fire pit, eyes on the stars, like they owed him something. One night she stepped out quietly, bringing him a tin cup of coffee. He took it with a grunt, his eyes shadowed. "Storm's coming," he said. "You can smell it in the air." She nodded. "I used to love storms, as a girl." "You ain't a girl no more," he muttered. "No, I'm not." A long silence stretched, the kind where something unspoken passes between souls. "Why'd you post that sign?" she asked finally. He stared at the fire, jaw clenched. "Man's got to eat," he said, and she knew that wasn't the real answer. Chapter 4. Trouble Rides In. The peace was shattered one afternoon when 3 riders came down the trail, dusty, wild-eyed, reeking of whiskey. One of them laughed too loud. Another kept patting the rifle strapped across his chest. Eleanor recognized the man in the middle, Zeke Travis. Her past. The man who promised to marry her, then promised worse. "Well, I'll be damned," he said with a grin. "Ain't you a pretty thing, Ellie girl? I heard you lit out a dry fork. Thought you'd be dead by now." Malachi stepped down from the porch. Calm, quiet, one eye unreadable, the scar glowing red in the sun. "She's under my roof," he said simply. Zeke grinned wider. "Then maybe we can come in and share your hospitality." Oh, that single word dropped like a stone. The air tensed, a hand twitched near a holster. Eleanor felt her breath stop. But before anything more could happen, Malachi cocked his rifle slowly and held it steady. Not shaking, not bluffing. "You got till I count to 3, he said. 1. The men didn't wait for 2. They turned and rode, cursing. Eleanor's knees gave out on the steps. Malachi didn't look at her, just picked up the coffee cup she dropped and handed it back. "Storm's closer than we thought," he said. Chapter 5. Love Grows in Quiet Places. After that day, something shifted. Malachi let her patch the holes in his coat. He didn't stop her when she started planting herbs by the window. He even smiled. Once. When she baked something sweet from leftover flour and apples gone soft. At night, she found herself watching him. How gently he touched the horses, how his limp grew worse when it rained, how his face, for all its scars, had once been handsome, still was, in a hard sort of way. And sometimes, when she caught him looking back at her, she didn't feel scared anymore. "Ain't much," he said one evening, voice barely audible. "Half a face, half a man." She looked at him, heart in her throat. "You gave me a home," she whispered. "I'll take whatever part of you you'll give me." Chapter 6. Fire and Redemption. It happened on a Sunday. Zeke Travis came back with 2 new men and torches. They waited till dark and lit the barn first. Flames roared into the night, horses screamed, the sky turned orange. Eleanor woke coughing, smoke curling through the floorboards. Malachi was already up, rifle in hand. "You stay here," he barked. But she didn't. She grabbed a bucket, barefoot and wild, and followed him outside. They fought together, Malachi shooting from the corral, Eleanor throwing water with shaking arms, dragging a colt from the fire with tears in her eyes. Zeke tried to corner her near the well, sneering. "Still got that spark, huh?" But Malachi was faster. The shot rang out like thunder. Zeke dropped. Malachi stood over him, chest heaving. "You come near her again, I won't miss your heart next time." By dawn, the barn was half gone, but the house stood. And so did they. Together. Chapter 7. A Future Never Dared. Months passed. Spring softened the ground, and the fields grew green again. The ranch was quiet, safe. One morning, Eleanor came in from gathering eggs and found a little wooden box on the table. Inside was a silver ring, simple, elegant. Next to it, a note in scrawled handwriting. "I don't got much, but if you stay, it's yours, all of it." Me too, she cried for the first time in a long time. Not from fear, but from love. That night, she said yes. Not in words, but in the way she kissed him under the cottonwood tree, the way she laid her head on his scarred shoulder and whispered, "I'm already home." Epilogue. Bitter Creek no more. They rebuilt the barn together. Eleanor planted roses by the porch. Malachi laughed more now, still quiet but easier. She ran the ranch books, kept the hearth warm, and every so often helped deliver a neighbor's baby. People in town started calling the place Redemption Ranch, because that's what it became. A place where broken things weren't just mended, they were made beautiful again. And every time the wind blew through the prairie carrying stories of hardship and hope, it whispered one truth. Love doesn't always ride in on a white horse. Sometimes it limps in, scarred and silent. But it stays forever.